I added as a latecomer this Bob Saget story, but I figured we could talk about it pretty quickly. I'm sure you guys are aware that the comedian Bob Saget, of course, who was very well known for starring in Full House for so many years, super well known for that, and also a stand-up comedian in his own right. He passed away recently, unfortunately, just like right in the middle of a tour, right in Orlando, Florida. And as it turns out, he apparently hit the back of his head, and there was enough trauma there that when he went to bed, he just didn't wake up. So I don't know if you guys heard about a court injunction about the information surrounding his death. Did you guys hear anything about that or no?
Yeah,
I haven't. I'm curious.
Yeah, I heard about it. The family, some people were going on saying that from the initial reports, that the traumatic injury he had to suffer was almost like somebody had to hit him with a baseball bat or something. Like it was a real severe injury. It wasn't something like I just fell and hit my head. So the family, it seems like, doesn't want anybody to delve deeper into that. And it seems like the authorities are saying that there was no foul play involved or anything like that, but they were just saying the circumstances surrounding what type of head trauma would cause such would cause this type of fatality is not just some run of the mill, I hit my head on the wall type thing. It's like, something had to major happen.
Yeah. No, I And I know that a lot of people are very suspicious about the circumstances precisely because of the surprise of his death, and because of what people have said about the level of force that would be required to create the kind of head trauma that resulted, I guess. But one thing that was interesting was that apparently he also had COVID when he died, and he may have known, he may not have known, I wonder. But I'm
COVID
wondering if maybe that. What's that?
They're probably going to label it as a COVID death so they can get more money.
I know. That was my first thought too. Was like, oh great, this is another COVID death, right? But I think it's possible, because I've heard of people finding out that they have COVID because of that. They don't have any other symptoms, except they just like pass out and then go to the doctor and they're like, oh, you have COVID. That's what's going on. So I have heard of that happening. So I'm wondering if maybe that was the case here. I don't know. But I mean, obviously I don't have any information to know whether there was any kind of foul play or not. But if the authorities don't think so, I don't really have any reason to think so, other than, there is that odd question. But it seems like, so I had some people kind of asking about the Bob Saget situation and the court's injunction. And it seems like what the family is requesting, and it kind of reminds me of Kobe Bryant, actually, that what the family is requesting is not necessarily for the details of his death to not be made public, but there are like photos and videos and things like that could be potentially very traumatic for the family to have made public. And so that's kind of the thing that they are trying to sort of shield and keep private and whatnot. And that seems to make a lot of sense, right? Like he was a public figure. He was very well known. He was very famous, but at the same time, he still had a private life, right? And he still had a family, and they have a right to a certain level of privacy and dignity and that kind of thing. So,
but the thing is that rumors quite like an information vacuum.
Yes. Yeah. That's true.
But also too, we're talking about public documents, and on one instance, I do agree, right? I agree that there should be some privacy. But if we're talking about suppression of public documents, I think we're walking a fine line there, right? Because it's like, if his family, with any family, and that's my only retort to this, is that with any family who didn't have the Bob Saget means, like the people who didn't have that much money to be able to file a motion to do it, would they be able to hide this from the public? And I just don't think that would be the same for everyone. So it seems to be a special kind of thing for them, and I understand why, and I agree with it. But I would just like to see some type of procedure where a family doesn't have to pay tens of thousands of dollars to go to court to be able to get this particular privilege. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I do think that this is also kind of one of those unique situations that because there is so much interest in the circumstances, I think they felt that they needed to do that. But if you have somebody that's not that died in somewhat unusual circumstances, and they're not famous, people don't know about them, there may not be as much of an interest in that kind of information. So so I can also see that your average family of somebody who passed away under unusual circumstances like that, they wouldn't necessarily need to file something like that because of the fact that, I mean, who's asking for it, right?
Well, yeah, but it's that, like, what do they call it, the limited public figure status, like just for that, like you can die in an unusual way and it can become a news story, right?
That's fair.
And they're like, oh my God,
Yeah.
and it's like, and you're not a public figure, but in that moment you are, and then people will be like, hey, we want to know more. So, but you're right. I think on average, you're right. You're probably not going to come to this problem, but I would just like to see a process in which everyone would be afforded this privilege, this privilege to suppress public documents on behalf of privacy.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.